Welcome everyone to the bloody train. During the day, it's all about long legs, and at night, it's the premiere of the long-legged series 102024. A friendly reminder, this film is extremely intense and stimulating. Don't watch it during the day. Make sure to try it with your friends at night. The main goal is to keep you company during those sleepless nights on the road. Without further ado, let's hop on this train together. The story begins with the train company launching an event to attract tourists. Generous tourists who participate in the train's first journey can enjoy free admission to the forest park at the final stop. Countless people quickly bought tickets, but on the day of departure, many women were holding up banners outside the station. It turned out that their husbands had previously participated in the train's construction but had mysteriously disappeared after. The train company and the police went to the scene, but couldn't find any clues about these inexplicably missing people. Due to the presence of many dangerous individuals in the depths beside the train track, the police didn't dare to investigate further. Eventually, the developers and the police suppressed the matter. This didn't affect the train company's completion of the project. The public drove away the protesters, while nearby tourists paid no attention to it. They only wanted to build the train to the forest park as soon as possible. After this brief interruption, everyone boarded the train and began their journey. The train slowly set off towards the forest park, with the scenery along the way as beautiful as the rising myopia rates in recent years. Many tourists took out their phones to take pictures, but there was one person who wasn't interested in the scenery. Instead, she was fixated on a photograph. The man in the photo was her husband, who had been one of the construction workers. She came on the train to uncover the truth behind the incident, not for tourism. But as she headed towards the rear carriage, her husband's figure suddenly appeared behind her. She looked on in disbelief and quickly got up to check, only to find that her husband wasn't there. When she looked back to the front, her husband was sitting, staring at her. Opening the carriage door, she discovered that her husband's figure had vanished once again. She quickly asked the flight attendant if they had seen her husband, describing his physical features. However, the attendant told her that since she boarded, they hadn't seen anyone matching that description. Meanwhile, she spotted the train company's developer in the front carriage. She wanted to confront them about what had happened earlier, but the attendant adamantly refused to let her through. She could only argue with the attendant where she stood. At the same time, as two girls were admiring the scenery outside Kai village, a crow followed the train. Just as they found this strange, they noticed the attendant at the front of the carriage. What is that? The sudden change of events frightened one of the girls, Xiao Mei, who needed to use the restroom. She went to carriage 5, but finding it overcrowded, had to go to carriage 4 instead. When she bent down to wash her face, nothing seemed amiss. But as the train entered a tunnel, even stranger things began to happen. The little girl woke up, but she didn't notice a ghostly shadow that suddenly floated by outside. Meanwhile, the conductor noticed something was off with their carriage, seeing the door moving by itself. The conductor thought it was an electrical issue, and immediately called for maintenance to check. Xiao Mei's friend, Xiao Ya, realized Xiao Mei hadn't returned and wasn't answering her. She got up to go. Unexpectedly, just as she reached the restroom, the carriage lost power, and the door. To her surprise, it wasn't Xiao Mei who entered, but a stranger. She had no choice but to wait. Little did she know that this turn of events had just saved her life. In carriage 5, a little girl was playing with another unfamiliar child, both having a great. Suddenly, carriage 5's coupling broke, leaving it behind in the tunnel. Back on the main train, Zhao Ya finally found Xiao. But as they were about to return to their seats, they discovered an unbelievable sight. Carriage 5 was missing, and the two had no choice but to find an attendant to explain everything. The attendant reassured everyone, explaining that the maintenance crew might have made a mistake during repairs, causing an issue with the train's connection. He told them not to panic, saying he would contact his superior. Due to the detachment of car number 5, Jiao Mei and Xiao Ya were temporarily moved to car number 3. Just then, an attendant opened the power box, unexpectedly finding aquatic plants and secretions inside. This sight made him break out in a cold sweat, but fortunately the conductor arrived at that moment. The strange sight vanished, and the attendant tried to explain to the conductor, but how could the conductor believe such? He immediately scolded the attendant for being late, but upon seeing the train, he quietly told the attendant not to make a fuss. If their superiors felt they both be in. Clearly they wanted to keep this incident on the road. As the train entered tunnel, an eerie laugh echoed through the cab, followed by many passengers seeming to. A newcomer started babbling on, while a nearby photographer continued taking pictures. But when he looked, he noticed something strange. Xiaoya, now in car 3, watched in horror as car 4 was dragged away, separating her further. She let out a scream. Car 5 was left in tunnel 5, car 4 in tunnel 4. This made Xiaoya fearful of car 3, and she pulled Xiao Mei towards car 2. The attendants explained that they had reported to their superiors, and headquarters would send other locomotives for rescue. The passengers in car 3 said nothing and chose to stay. But as the train entered the tunnel, they'd surely regret it. People in the car seemed paralyzed, as if held by an unseen force. Suddenly, countless monsters appeared in the carriage. This scene was witnessed by those in car 2, helping them understand why the first 3 carriages were lagging behind. The attendant was about to tell the conductor to stop the train when the developer approached, accusing Xiaomei and the attendant of causing trouble to rob the women in the front carriages. Hearing this, the women in the carriage became agitated, pointing their wine bottles at them. Just as the tension peaked, the woman searching for her husband suddenly shouted,